Our next senator needs no introduction, but I will introduce him anyway. Senator Lindsey Graham is a champion for Israel and a champion for Christians United for Israel. The senator from South Carolina, he spent 33 years, go ahead South Carolina, we're all about state pride here, we're united. He spent 33 years serving as a lawyer in the U.S. military, both in the Air Force and the Air National Guard, even after being elected to Congress. After first serving in the U.S. House of Representatives for 8 years, for the last 15 years, Senator Graham has focused on national security and U.S. foreign relations while representing South Carolina in the Senate. He has been a steadfast friend to Israel throughout his career and has worked closely with CUFI for several years to strengthen the U.S.-Israel relationship and defend both countries from their mutual enemies. As one of the most respected and influential foreign policy experts on Capitol Hill, Senator Graham sponsored the Taylor Force Act of 2017 and played the crucial role in getting that legislation passed through the Senate. Thank you, Senator Graham. During Operation Protective Edge, Senator Graham sponsored a Senate resolution expressing full support for Israel's right to defend itself and condemning the Hamas rocket attacks against Israeli citizens. In addition, Senator Graham co-sponsored a 2014 bill in the Senate seeking to prevent Hezbollah from receiving international financing, as well as a bill in 2017 designed to oppose international attempts to inflict boycotts, divestment, and sanctions against Israel. Yes. Senator Lindsey Graham clearly recognizes the threats that Israel and the United States face and understands that working closely together and tirelessly ensures that both countries have a safer and a brighter future. Once again, the Force family would like to join the senator on stage to acknowledge his leadership and support in ending pay to slay against their son, Taylor Force, and future victims of Palestinian terror. We say no more. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Senator Graham and the Force family.
I promise this is it. This is 6 months. You may see me again, but I think when we moved to South Carolina 7 years ago, just out of the blue after we retired, it wasn't a coincidence that Senator Lindsey Graham is our one of our U.S. senators. I think it was Providence. He has done so much good during his time serving the United States and as our senator and as the lead sponsor for the Taylor Force Act in the Senate. It is Providence, and he is a good friend of South Carolina and the United States and Israel and the forces. Thank you.
Sit down. Thank you all very much. I've been well introduced, haven't I? You've had a lot to shout about, right? Last night was awesome. So I want to give you something to think about. My goal is not to get you shouting too much and save it for later on. The first thing I want to say is that when I met the Taylor Force family, Stuart and Robbie, it really moved me because such a senseless death. Have you heard the Taylor Force story? He's exactly who you'd want to be your son. West Point graduate, 2 tours of duty, 1 in Iraq and Afghanistan, going to school, finds his way to Israel, studying in a graduate program there, goes out to eat with a bunch of friends and gets killed for no reason at all. So here's what I told them. We're going to make sure he did not die in vain, and we have fulfilled that promise. This young man's death did more to focus on the problem than any single event since I've been up here for over 20 years. So how does a how do you get to where we're at on moving the embassy to Jerusalem and the Taylor Force Act and some of the other accomplishments? You got to get Congress to respond. The one thing I found that we respond to is passionate people. Every bill is a jobs bill in Congress. Your job. You worry about how you vote. You want to stay in good standing with the people you represent. To all of you in the room, how many of you are going to go to Capitol Hill later today? It makes a big difference. Pastor Hagee and his whole team has focused on the U.S.-Israel relationship in the evangelical Christian community unlike anybody in my lifetime. This whole organization is a result of an intense focus that our nation needs to be with Israel for a lot of reasons, religious reasons, national security reasons, just a lot of reasons. How does these bills become law? The Taylor Force family took the tragedy and turned it into something positive. They met so many members of the Senate. How would you like to meet those two and tell them, no, I'm not going to support this legislation? You can't. Now, when you come to Capitol Hill and you go into these offices, you need to be prepared. You need to tell them exactly what you want. We're in a town, you get what you want only if you know what you're asking for. And you have to be insistent. No is not the right answer. So the bottom line is I meet people every day, every 15 minutes, and most of them are paid lobbyists who are good people. And they come with a very clear message about their client. It's usually some business interest. Seldom do I meet people who come up here on their own dime and have a reason to be here that is very passionate, that doesn't affect their own self-interest in an economic way. None of you up here because it pays well to support Israel. You're up here to try to move your nation in the right direction. It is working. It is working. So the Taylor Force law, after a lot of persistence by Pastor Hagee, his team, and people in this room, we got the president's attention, and without Donald Trump, this law would not be in being. So thank you, President Trump. Without President Trump, the embassy would not have moved. What is it about the times that we live in? Finally, your voice is listened to. Do you understand? For the last 8 years, nobody really gave a damn what you thought up here. Now they do. Now this window could close. So work like there's no tomorrow. Now, the Palestinians have gotten the wrong message. They've become very defiant in the face of the Taylor Force Act. They've actually increased the payments to people who engage in terrorism. So what will I do next? I'm going to introduce round 2 of Taylor Force. I'll need your help to punish the ministers who actually carry out the new Palestinian law that incentivize more that the young people commit terrorism, not less. And we want to let them know they're not going to travel the world to come to the United States or live well, that we're going to consider them agents of terrorism. We're going to name names. So, and they will listen. What have I learned about the Mideast after 44 trips in the last 10 years? You need a wallet and a gun, and we got both. But the main thing you need is passion. So that's where we're headed on Taylor Force. In the next 3 or 4 minutes, no longer than 5, I got other speakers like John Cornyn, who's awesome, Iran. The biggest challenge of the times we live in is to contain this Iranian regime before it's too late. I'm going to name 5 threats to you. You got China that I'll put over here by itself. It's an economic threat. It could be a military threat, but it also could be a partner. Don't know where China's going. I'm going to work with Trump to get him in a good place. You got radical Islam on the Sunni side, Al-Qaeda and ISIS. These guys are crazy. The only way you can fight them is to fight them over there so they don't come here. So let's don't withdraw our troops. Let's keep the fight over there, right? Here's the good news. Most people in that world are not buying what these crazy people are selling. I've been to Iraq and Afghanistan 44 times. Most fathers and mothers do not want to give their daughters to ISIS unless they have to. So here's the good news for us. Most people are rejecting the ideology. We just need to build them up. We need to offer a hopeful life to compete with a glorious death. That means we've got to show up in Afghanistan and Iraq, and means we've got to stay in and try to improve life. That makes us safer. They're a threat, but we're going to win that threat. You got Russia. It's a gas station masquerading as a country. Putin's just a thug, nothing new there. He's trying to recreate the old Russian Empire, and he'll fail. And one day they'll throw him out because he's robbing them blind. You got North Korea, little rocket man, right? Little rocket man cares about one thing, little rocket man. And the Donald has made little rocket man think twice about, oh my God. So I don't worry about North Korea trying to take over the world. I do worry about them selling nuclear weapons. They've done it in the past with every other weapon. So Trump is right to try to get them to give up their nukes. And he's right to say we're not here to take over North Korea. We're here to just make sure you can't have nuclear weapons to use or sell. Iran. Of all the threats I've just named, this is the big one. Why? You have a nation state, not a terrorist organization, motivated by a religious view that would kill everybody in this room. Just like ISIS or Al-Qaeda, but they're Sunnis. The Ayatollah is a religious Nazi. When you write death to Israel on a missile, it's pretty clear to me what you're trying to tell the world. So this regime, if allowed to get a nuclear weapon, how many of you think they would use it? Me too. More than North Korea, because they're motivated by a view of religion that requires them to wipe off the face of the earth, Israel, and come after the great Satan, us. And for 8 years, we've been kissing their ass, and I'm tired of that. So now, we got a new way of doing business. We got a new sheriff in town. Only I can get away with doing that and a bunch of Christians, but I'm a Baptist and we do this routinely at home. So, no good sermon goes without a little bit of cussing. But it makes the point, doesn't it? Here's the point. Donald Trump, you've got it right when it comes to Iran. Obama, you got it wrong, and we're going to do things different. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to form a new chapter, Christians United for the Iranian People, called CUFI, I guess. We're going to stand by the Iranian people and say, you're right to want a better life, and we're there with you. Remember that young lady who was shot down in the streets, died in the streets of Tehran, just wanting a better life, wanting to be able to have her vote count? Remember the protesters having a sign, Mr. President Obama, are you with them or are you with us? Well, let me tell you where Donald Trump is at. He's with you. He's not with the regime. And here's where we're going to be. I'm going to introduce legislation soon that sides with the Iranian people against the Ayatollah and his henchmen, and I need your support to make that a law. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to treat the Iranian regime the way Ronald Reagan treated the Soviet Union. It is an evil empire, and it will fall. If you care about Israel, which all of us do, of all the threats they face, it's the Ayatollah with a nuke because he'll use it. One Holocaust is enough. So we got a chance in world history to change things. So when Mike Pompeo 2 days ago made a speech about how corrupt Iran is, and it will be the policy of the United States to stand up to the regime and stand by the Iranian people, I hope you understand that was history being made. We're treating Iran the way Reagan treated the Soviet Union. We're going to break the Iranian regime's back economically. We're going to drive them out of Syria, not let them stay. We're going to partner with Israel to destroy Hamas and Hezbollah on their doorstep. We're going to do everything we can to let the Iranian people that we hear you. We're going to bring this regime down to its knees. God bless you.